So what's important to us as a school? We are different to many schools because the audience is important to us. We want to make films that will reach and communicate with an audience that they're wanting to do. We're also about all screen sizes. For us, the story determines the medium, so we don't care if it's iPhone, whose sales have just dropped, or Galaxy, which they've withdrawn. But we don't care if it's small screen, medium, or the cinema. It's because the story is the important thing, and it should go to the media. That's important. Hard work. We don't have to tell. In England, I have to tell them that if they come to our school, they have to work hard. We don't have to tell people in Japan that, I don't think. Yeah, you all work hard. Yeah? Do they all work hard? Asking a European. Yeah. What is it? So it's and it's the pursuit of excellence. That everything is Steve Jobs. Some people are not used to the idea of being in an environment like this university, by all accounts, where excellence is expected. Not when you arrive, but when you leave, that you've got to that position where what you do is excellent. But we're also in the NFTS looking for individuality. You see, you laugh at me because I'm different. I laugh at you because you're all the same. And we are looking for the black sheeps of the world at the NFTS, for the people who are really individuals, are not necessarily thinking. I always say it's more important to march in the opposite direction to everybody else. That's a thing. We are also, for us, storytelling is very important. We are not about non-narrative or experimental filmmaking. We want to tell stories. This is my favorite one. The writing class was asked if they could write a short story that contained religion, sexuality, and mystery. And this was the one that won it. Good God, I'm pregnant, and I wonder who did it. But we are at the heart of what we do. Every course is how sound, editing, direction, production, how that all supports the story we are trying to tell and realizes it. It's very confusing. You can see from the different position of the hands how they tell stories. I love that picture. But really, in our school, this is the 2-year journey, which is from idea, making the idea seductive, to the result, making the result seductive. And the result will be a game, a film, TV show, commercial, whatever it is. And you don't, so a lot of effort goes into making sure that ideas are seductive, are interesting, sexy, sexy, not sexual, but kind of sexy, exciting. And then it's really hard to take something that's an exciting idea to the end where it's equally exciting or even more exciting. And we are about, as I said earlier, about the audience. But it doesn't mean big audience. If you make something, a film for your grandmother, then the most important thing is your grandmother takes from the film what you want her to take or provoke the reaction. You want it to provoke a reaction. You may not know what reaction. And like here, it's quite tough, and the reality is not always easy. We have very few dropouts at the NFTS. This is, the glass is always full, technically, because it has water and air. Scientists here will understand that. But we have very few dropouts. Really, people only drop out because parents die or they have illness or something really major. Because we are all working as teams, not as individuals. So we can't afford to have people leave the school. Things don't always go to plan. But this is one of my favorite things, because when people come to my school, they have normally been to university or been in the industry. This is so a lot of them they have a lot of knowledge, but they all have different knowledge to each other. So I always say, when you are in deep shit, show nothing and try to look like you know what you're doing. Very important for us producers. We talked about that, Let me just go through these, because I didn't know if the showreel was working. And I just want to get through this. And games, and brilliant film that. And then there's a kind of how we teach. And these are, first of all, a lot of master classes. You know, we have had here, you know, we've had here David Yates, he's Harry Potter, Guy Ritchie, Sherlock Holmes, Snatch, Sex, Drugs and Rock and Roll, P.T. Anderson, Christopher Nolan last December, Sam Mendes, you know, Ron Howard, the big American director, Yorgos, one of the most interesting directors working today, and the big writers like Aaron Sorkin, did the West Wing, Social Network, and just this in the last 3 weeks, we have had Danny Boyle, multi-Oscar winning. We've had Steve McQueen, multi-Oscar winning. There's Danny. And we just had up on Monday the Korean director, Park Chan, you can say Chan-wook or Chan-wood. And the Monday before we had Werner Herzog, the iconic German director. So there's a lot. This is our philosophy. To study is not necessarily to learn. And this is very important to us because it's, you know, we say to people, we are a learning institution more than we are a teaching institution. You learn through doing things, through making things, rather than through lectures and similar things. But they, you know, we want teachers who don't cover the curriculum but uncover it. And we're really looking for peer learning. 50% of what our students learn, they learn from each other because you have specialists. So someone wants to know about sound, they go sound department. Someone wants to know, it's quicker than finding a tutor, and they probably will give a better answer. And I use it in negotiations with the teachers' salaries, because I say if the students are only learning 50% of what they learn here from you, we should only pay you 50% as much. But it doesn't work. But a lot of peer learning, the learning from each other. And I think this is a nice sort of philosophy. Tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. That's why we are in the learning through making things, making films, making shows, always doing stuff. And also it's very important that people are able to make mistakes, so they really properly learn. And that's not how school is spelt. And the other thing is that we here in this university, you are rightfully proud of being a, you know, a theoretical school of great intellect, great tradition, you know, 500 plus years of stuff. But we are kind of the opposite. You know, we are, you know, in theory there is no difference between theory and practice, but in practice there is. And then we are, and so what do we look for? Some of them I've talked about. That's typical NFTS student. This is what this was a little description of, not for tomorrow's students, but for today's students, saying they watch Disney films, not the Disney Channel. They liked Nightmare Before Christmas, the Tim Burton film. They're a Harry Potter generation. They loved Interview with a Vampire Before Twilight. And they're the last people on Earth to have a 1 at the start of their birth date, as opposed to a 2. And this was the Kipling thing that I was, you know, talking about earlier with you people. You know, the other big thing for our school is that the students need to be always asking questions, not just listening, you know, and they should be asking what and why and when and how and where and who. And that's the way they learn really quickly and more than others. And the other thing that is important for us is, you know, is engaging with the world. We need our students need to engage with the story, the craft. They have to engage with each other, of course, with themselves, but also the industry, the audience, and culture and art and all of the different stuff. And passion if you're a big football fan like me, we know what passion is. 2-0 to Reading, that wasn't so hard for the Arsenal team. But this is my son at the British Premiership. But passion is important, but it needs to be accompanied with skill, intelligence, application, and all those other qualities. And then finally, this is another Korean proverb: people do not spit on a smiling face. And this is it's good to have people who have what we call a sunny disposition, that are nice to be with. People like to gather around, not the spirit of the party. They don't have to be noisy, they don't have to be loud, but that people naturally gather around and will diffuse situations of tension or problems. And finally, this is probably the biggest thing I learned from Richard Branson. It's not because things are difficult that we do not dare, it is because we do not dare that things are difficult. So we're looking for people who have guts, who are courageous, who are not bothered about whether everybody else thinks they are wrong, or thinks they are stupid, or thinks they are badly dressed, or thinks they are, idiots. Because it doesn't matter what the rest of the world think, it matters what you are doing. And therefore you need people who have the courage and guts to do stuff. And then we want students who want to be at the top of the tree, who are going to climb and really achieve. And as I said, we want people who are different. This is the typical career path of NFTS students, graduates. So the blue one is the intended one, the red one is the actual one, and the yellow is how much they drink. And success. Because I say to our students that if you are not successful, I get fired. And they say, well, we don't care, Nick. This is the great Arsene Wenger. He is manager of the Arsenal football team. And this is very important in a master's course, because sometimes people, come, they think they know everything. And there doesn't seem much point coming. But the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement.